My God, it's full of riffs.
What should I write about this band? Pretty easy decision, actually. I suppose I would have to start with how frustrating they are. No, this isn't a condemnation of the music, at least not entirely, because I would never be frustrated with a band which I know stinks. An awful band can't disappoint me, I have no expectations from it. So just the fact that they frustrate me, again, is a good sign, ironically, because it indicates I actually expected something. Or the more suitable word would be hoped. I hoped they had evolved. They didn't. They never do. They annoy me on every new release because they have so much potential that I would like to hear realized, because they do have it in them to create a strong album, a feat they still haven't accomplished yet. The silver lining is that none of their albums are bad. Their consistency, the regularity with which they dish out albums, plus their high technical proficiency, all these things show how dedicated they are. They live and breathe this music. They are one of the few new generation metal bands, a few dozen at the very most, that I respect. A band that started out in this century is a new band, okay? I've been listening to metal for 32 years, so these guys hardly count as veterans, in my book. Yet they piss away much of this talent. Might I know the reason why they waste it? In fact, I do, because it's so obvious. They are complexity fetishists. You know. Clusterfuck, multi-riff, or justs with a penchant to show off their dexterity. If there is a riff orgy taking place within walking distance, I am sure they pull down their pants straight away, and join the fun. Every riff gets its turn. They are like horny bunnies, tirelessly hopping from riff to riff, filling up its holes, never staying with one riff too long. As many riffs as they can molest, as they can collect. Bunnies, at the height of their mating season, finish several times per minute. Ditto Revocation. This band can never stay faithful for long. They flirt with a new riff before they hardly even finished tying the knot with the one they're playing. Sometimes Vector join them, and then no riff on earth is safe from being gang raped. Sorry about this sexual filth, O ye female readers. The 2 or 3 of you. They simply can't stick with 1 or 2 great, catchy riffs and kick-ass. They simply can't do it. They have that clusterfuck itch they have to scratch. The riff demon sits on their left shoulders and eggs them on to overcomplicate. He whispers into their ears.
Hey. You've dove long enough on this riff. A whole 7 seconds. Any longer than that, and your fans will get restless. Sure, it's an okay riff, but think of the possibilities. Throw in a sudden break by introducing a completely unrelated tune. Yes, of course, people love that. Change the tempo too, make it much slower, or much faster. But don't waste your time with that riff either. 11 seconds is enough. Rush on to the next one. People can't get enough of your riff salads. They love messy song structures. And anyway, you guys are so brilliant that every single riff you come up with should go on the album. Quality control? That's for shitty bands. You guys are flawless.
The demon's colleague, the succubus lady, sent from metal's overlords of clusterfuck, riff salad land, helps out, too. She seduces them every time into her web of deception. She confirms the riff demon's bullshit story that 11 tempo changes and 28 different riffs enrich a song. She lies. She is the queen bitch of satanic whores. Which brings me to the band's specific problem, the metal disease they suffer from. In most songs there is a good riff, sometimes even a great riff. But it is played only a few seconds, or 15 to 30 seconds at the most. Then they jump to an inferior riff, never to revisit that brilliant section again. A crucial error. That is one of my pet peeves in music, non-repetition of a great tune. Bands that overcomplicate are a lot more likely to have been deceived by the riff succubus, and the riff demon. Because, somehow, by some dumb logic, complexity equals awesomeness. Technical wankery equals orgasmic spasms. In reality, it's more like complexity equals overestimation of self equals drudgery. Technical wankery equals boring compositions. Album after album, It's the same mistake. It's not as if the songs are very long, surprisingly enough. But they cram so much bullshit into them. The songs are mostly fast, which enables them to clusterfuck their 1000 riffs within 4, rather than 10 minutes. This is how it works. You hear an awesome riff, but then, suddenly, it's taken away from you, and before you can even mouth what the fuck, already it's on to the next one. That good riff often gets replaced before the song even gets the chance to fully benefit from it. It's as if the band is afraid that the riff might overstay its welcome. Fat chance of that ever happening on a Revocation album. They could learn a thing or two from the Exploited, or Ministry, who take a great riff and massage it into the listener's ears without shame. These guys understand arrangement like I understand genetic engineering of three-headed alien chickens. Admittedly, on the first listens almost the entire album is listenable. This is a common occurrence on overly intricate but poorly written albums. I am used to it, hence wait for 5, 6 listens until I form a clear opinion. I said almost for a good reason. Not because of riff salad mania, but because the band gets a little cheesy on a few occasions. It's pathetic that even a serious thrash band like Revocation succumbs to the cheese bug. The clusterfuck bug, though, is the huge problem here, whereas the cheese virus is a fairly minor point. This damn yellow virus is threatening to swallow the entire metal scene. I am particularly amused by the fact that the cheesiest track is called Luciferess. Really, guys? You're going to sing about the horned one, but you'll stick him into the worst, shittiest, corniest song? What the hell is wrong with you? Song 3 also has some cheese. Then there is Song 5, which has one abrasive, heavily dissonant riff. I kind of grin every time I hear it. It's supposed to be an ominous riff, an evil riff, but there you go. It makes me snicker a bit. It has this effect on me because I can't help but laugh at a band that includes such an ugly dissonant section on an album that features some rather corny melodic growly metal cheese. I am all for diversity on an album. But 1. Very few bands can pull that off without sounding silly. 2. Diversity doesn't mean you can combine Bloodosnord with Dragonfuss. To be fair, they don't get cheesy on that specific track. But having heard cheese just a few songs before it, or right before it, the Bloodosnord section just comes off as comical. Imagine Voivod playing Forgotten in Space, then following it up with Halloween's unbelievably shitty Keeper of the Seven Keys. Okay, it's nowhere nearly that extreme, but you get the gist. Extreme analogies hammer a point better. In their defense, there is fairly little cheese here. It only appears 2-3 times, but when it does, it's very annoying. Cheese is like uranium that way. Even a small amount can have devastating effects. Sort of like how a spoonful of neutron star material weighs like an entire building. We all love pizza, but in music, especially metal, cheese is a highly toxic substance. So without further bitching about song structure ado, here is a list of good sections on the new album. A sort of favor, a service that I provide for my loyal 5.5 readers. Now you don't have to listen to the entire album, but can go straight to the best parts. Of unworldly origin, a good fast riff. A boring solo section in the 4th minute seals this as an overall average song though. 17 seconds do not a good song make. But like Yoda do I now speak. That which consumes all things. A fairly solid intro. That which consumes all things. The album's highlight. Great stuff. Does it repeat in this 5.5 minute song? Hell no. Instead, it's followed by a generic boring solo, followed by several solid sections, though nothing monumental. Blood Atonement. Kind of cheesy, sounds like a typical tame lame melodic growly metal tune, that is very boring and with zero punch. A whole minute of this shit? Come on, guys. Blood Atonement. Textbook example of how bad their songwriting decisions are. This section starts with a very good fast riff, but before the riff even gets to play out for a full cycle, the band can't resist but interrupt it with a brief but very dumb, needless break. Honestly, Revocation, do you guys want to kick ass, or to technically impress? Kicking ass is roughly 100,000 times more fun than pointless wankery. Fathomless catacombs. Their songs often feel like fathomless catacombs, like mazes without exits. But blah 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 is a good part, followed directly by one of the album's best sections. This kicks ass. Slightly more jazzy, this track. The Outer Ones. One of the early sections sounds like Morbid Angel. I am not a fan of that band, and this bit does nothing for me. But guess what? It repeats. Yes, when a tune is average, then they repeat it, but almost never when it's awesome. What the fuck? The Outer Ones. An okay part, followed by one of the better solos, a very lengthy solo section. But overall this song is nothing special. The Outer Ones. It's that blue Tosnord riff that I mentioned earlier. It normalizes into a less dissonant riff. After this, then the band briefly go into a short chugga-chugga section that, if it had gone on for a minute, would have been very similar to Meshhugger, who never know when to stop. They have the opposite problem that Revocation have. Vanitas. This riff is pretty solid. But it took a whole 3.5 minutes for a good moment to show up. Vanitas. A solid riff serves as a bridge to a solid jazzy solo segment. So this song is lame until the 4th minute, then gets interesting. Couldn't they have just deleted the lame shit early on, and gone on straight to the good stuff? Ex Nihilo. A solid instrumental, nice jazzy chords, and quite a bit of solo wankery. Is it great though? Hardly. Luciferess. Very brief, sure, but even a few seconds of ultra cheese can be detrimental to a song. This garbage tune repeats at blah blah blah. Then suddenly we have blast beats. Pretty silly. This band simply doesn't know how to arrange songs. Christ almighty, if Lars Ulrich managed to learn it, then how difficult can it be? A Starless Darkness. Another Morbid Angel moment to kickstart this one. Not interested in this. But, it's followed directly by A Starless Darkness. Another highlight, and a whole minute of it. On a Revocation album. What are the odds? It even repeats. This time it's much shorter, because the band must have realized it's too good to dominate the song. Naturally, despite its 8-minute length, this section is never replayed. A Starless Darkness. The sort of melodic interlude or bridge stuff Devin Townsend likes to throw in occasionally, especially on his Ziltoid albums, Deconstruction, and the like. A Starless Darkness. Very good fast part. As usual, way too short, and, you guessed it, this part never reappears. Instead, we get the dull Morbid Angel riff to close this overall very solid track. Typical Revocation. Great moments mixed up with boring and semi-interesting tunes. They are such schizos. Best songs. A Starless Darkness, that which consumes all things, Fathomless Catacombs. Worst songs. Luciferess. 3 stars out of 5,